Hey guys, it's Duan, and don't look at that corner. It is our junk corner. Don't look at it. Craig and I need to work on that. Now you're probably gonna notice that it's been like that for all of my vlogs, and it's just that we've been needing to work on that corner for a very long time. I wanted to talk about, in this vlog, something that has been on my mind. I feel like I've started my vlogs by saying that many times, but that's okay. This is a new thing that has been on my mind. Basically, I read this quote a long time ago. I'm sure that you've heard it. It's a quote by the Dalai Lama. When you talk, you are only repeating what you already know. But if you listen, you may learn something new. It's just definitely been making me be more present because I've been observing so much more and like taking in so much more this week because I'm like new information, which is funny because I remember when I was in kindergarten, story time. It wasn't even necessarily that I think that I was so shy. I just never knew what to say. And I remember specifically being outside my kindergarten class. I was like in a conversation with two people and they were talking about something. And I remember being in my brain like, Duan, say something, just say something, just say anything that so they don't think that you're dumb. Say something. And I would just blurt out things that probably were super irrelevant. And yeah, I remember never saying anything and just being in my brain all the time like, say something, do it, say something. But then again, in kindergarten, apparently, which I don't remember, apparently I used to like hit people. And I think it was just the boys that I had crushes on because I would like chase them. But I do remember every day after kindergarten when I would get out at noon that this lady had to come over and teach me about anger management. Maybe that's why I'm like so nice now. I finally have learned my lesson. Ooh, it's hot. I just shared a very personal story. I had anger management when I was 5 years old. But anyways, we were having this whole talk with Craig, Dylan, and Dana, and I just really kind of listened to their points of views, and in my brain I was just really happy about it. I was just taking on new information, and it's so great to just sit and observe and just gain knowledge. Because if you think about it, there is no capacity to learning in our brain. Like, you can just take in so much information and there's no limit to that. You can just learn everything in the world, and that's the most exciting thing ever. So now I'm just like doe-eyed walking around. What can I learn? What can I hear today? Not necessarily facts, but just ways of life, observing people and hearing their conversations, how different everybody is and how different people think. Like, for example, it's really nice that Craig and I share a lot of the same views, but it's amazing that we don't and we think differently. It's just a perfect way to like balance each other, and he can teach me things, I can teach him things. Like I always say on my vlog, surround yourself with amazing people that you can always learn from, and put yourself in environments that you can always learn from. When I went to my university, whenever they would have talks, I would always go to them because I was just like, I need to take advantage of this and just learn. So anyways, what I'm getting to, this vlog is about this little event that I went to this past week. I got an email, load. I got an email from Rebecca Minkoff. Come by Rebecca Minkoff NYC for a fireside chat with Rebecca Minkoff and the Choose Daphne Oz on what it's like being female leaders today, and of course food. Q&A to follow. Now that I think about it, there was no food there. There was just champagne, which I'm not going to complain about. RSVP'd and I went, and yeah, I hope that it inspires you. Come along.
start off. This is a candid conversation, and then we'll open it up to Q&A afterwards. So do you have any tips on balance and how you sort of do that?
I think it recalibrates every day. I think there are days when I'm an A grade mom and a B grade employee and a C grade friend and a D grade wife, and I think the next day it could be literally completely reversed. And I really struggle with this idea that I do think we can have it all, but I struggle with the idea that we think having it all means doing all those things perfectly, because you would die. You would actually die if you work that hard all the time. Two things that I think are super important. First and foremost is that this is still your life, and I feel like it's really important for moms especially to hear that you have to be happy at the end of the day, and like this is your only moment, so you can't put your life on hold for 20, 30, 40 years and feel like you're going to get to live the life you want again then, because there's no guarantee of that, most importantly, but you rob your kids of seeing you really happy and ecstatic and giving that to them if you do that. But then secondarily, it is this idea that balance comes and goes, and there are moments when you're going to feel really overwhelmed. Like I was doing book tour all last fall. We were doing the Chew. I was doing the show for Food Network. I was like traveling a lot for the book stuff. I was so run ragged. I couldn't enjoy any of it, and I had to take a step back and say, you know what? Like that's not how I want to function, because that's not how I want to model for my kids, but more importantly, it's not what's making me happy. And I mean, I know it sounds easier to say than do, but I would say take it a little easier on yourself. Realize that it is a constantly fluctuating balance, and try to, as much as you can, take 5 minutes here and there and just pay attention to the things that make you happiest in your life and try to put more of that in.
My question is, do you feel like you have found and wrote into your own personal style, and being so publicly viewed on what you're wearing every single day, how do you deal with criticism?
I think coming to into your own is always happening. So for me, it's at each age, I would say every 5 years, I want to say. You just start, like yesterday I was like, I'm wearing something that if I saw myself at 22, I'd be like, oh, I would never wear that schmata, you know? But now I like want to cover lots of things as much as I possibly can. And so I think that each new phase of your life, at least for me, has brought different choices that I've made. I had to do a school project for my son and like go back and look at really old pictures. I was like, I can't believe I ever wore that, and why am I even allowed to be in fashion when I put that out? So I think it's always, hindsight is like, what am I doing? And I think it's always trying to look your best and feel your best in the moment. As far as criticism, no one's been mean to me on the internet yet. I hope that doesn't happen, but so far I haven't been aware of that kind of criticism that I think a lot of people get. But they're usually in other fields, you know, like they're an actress or a celebrity or a blogger, or they're on TV. Like, I don't know the fashion vendors that are attacked in that way.
My style hasn't been defined yet, at least on our show, because I came on the show, I was 24, I was newly married, I was like dieting hardcore. I was like, yes, I'm a 6, this is amazing. Then I got pregnant, 12, 14, then I came back to an 8, then I went back up to a 14 again. Like I just, I've been all over the map in terms of like the life that I was living, and what I was doing in that moment, what my body looked like. But I will say that I think that as you start to figure out that authentic voice, I'm starting to feel like I know what's going to make me feel like myself and what's going to make me feel good going out in the world. I think about this all the time. Like, the men in our lives oftentimes will wear a uniform, like, and it could be slacks and a sweater, it could be a suit, it could be jeans and a t-shirt, like whatever it is, they have their uniform, and they don't think about that. It's not one more stress for them. It just lets them go out and be them. And I think that a lot of women I know, and myself included, getting dressed is part of a stress of life. And there are mornings when it's fast, and there are mornings when it's a 45-minute endeavor, and you still aren't happy, and you're tugging, and you're pulling, and you're not. It just undermines your ability to maximize your presence. And I think that for me is my biggest challenge now, is like, I'm 30, I have 2 kids, I want to still feel sexy, but I also want to acknowledge that like there are parts that I need help controlling. One thing I will say about trolls, and I was just having this conversation with a girl, Shoshana, who walked in earlier, because people, oftentimes I'll respond to a troll like once in a blue moon. And then every time I'll get like a flood of people writing back, don't give them the time of day, like doesn't detract from you, like don't worry about it, And my point is, I'm not writing back because I care, because if you think about the person who has time to find you online, criticize you from their parents' basement in their dirty underwear, like they are so not worth you caring what they think of you. But I do it because I'm trying to create a community that's not about that, that has a real uplift, that has real light and like forward-moving focus. And I think a lot of the time, you know, I'm sure a lot of people watched Obama's farewell address last night. One of the things that like I said it on the show today, that stood out so much, he was like, if you're tired of arguing with people you've never met on the internet, try and go have a conversation with a stranger in person, or just you know, get to know people that are not like you, or that you know you would never associate with otherwise, and it will change your whole vibe. Because Carl and I were saying in the hallway today, she like had confronted a guy who has harassed her for 2 years. She like took time to get to know him. They had a whole dialogue online, and it turns out like he had this, you know, as most people would who are that negative and that nasty. He's had a really hard life, a really sad existence. No one's there to nurture or protect him, and I think he took that out on the world around him. And I would say that when you can realize that there's a human on the other side that doesn't realize that there's a human on this side, it just stops bothering you. Sorry, that was long.
I'm so glad that I was able to experience that and capture that moment and be able to share it with you so you can hear everything that they had to say and hopefully take it in and learn from it and just implement it into your life. I mean, it's just experiences and what you learn that makes you who you are. So it's just exciting to like add more to the tree of you and sprout extra branches and leaves and tree and make you the beautiful being that you are. I hope that you like that analogy. I hope that you have an amazing week. I hope this inspires you. And just remember that we are all in this together in this beautiful thing called life. So I love you, and I hope that you have an amazing, amazing week. I will see you next week.